Okay, so you want to own a nightclub. You picture a dark room, a line stretching down the block, music you can feel in your chest, and a bar selling $20 drinks that cost $2 to pour. On paper, it looks like the easiest fortune in hospitality. People pay to get in, pay again to drink, and pay the most to sit at a table everyone else can see. You buy cheap alcohol, you sell expensive status, you repeat until rich. That's the picture in your head. Here's the problem. A nightclub is not a bar. It's not even really a music venue. It's a machine for converting one thing. The feeling that tonight matters more inside your room than anywhere else in the city, into high-margin purchases for a few compressed hours a week. In a normal bar, people pay for drinks. In a nightclub, people pay for position. That one word changes everything, and it's why the business can look like legalized money printing from the outside and still quietly bleed to death on the inside. By the end, you'll know exactly which version you'd actually buy. First, understand that nightclub isn't one business, it's at least three. There's the neighborhood spot. Small, low cover, survives on regulars and cheap drinks. There's the destination club. Big room, big DJ, big bottle service, lives on tourist weekends. And there's the mega club, the Hakkasan type, $100 million room built to sell a global brand. They all look like the same dream. They are not the same risk. A neighborhood spot can die in one slow winter. A destination club can die in one bad summer. A mega club can take down a public company. The rest of this is about the middle one, the club you're actually picturing. Here's what it costs before you've sold a single drink. Location first, and you can't hide somewhere cheap. Nightlife lives in entertainment districts, downtown cores, tourist corridors, the exact places where rent is already brutal before you add alcohol, noise, and 2 a.m. foot traffic. And the moment a landlord hears the word nightclub, the deal gets worse. You're a high-risk tenant. Noise complaints, late-night damage, lawsuits, police attention. So you pay a bigger deposit, stronger guarantees, tighter terms, and often higher effective rent than a restaurant would pay for the same square footage. You are not renting space. You are paying for the right to create controlled chaos inside somebody else's building, and the owner prices that in. Then the build-out. This is where first-timers get hit by reality. It's not a room with a bar and a DJ booth. It's industrial electrical for sound and lighting, refrigeration, point of sale, HVAC strong enough to cool a packed room of moving bodies, reinforced restrooms that survive hundreds of guests a night, security cameras, exits, fire suppression, acoustic treatment. Mid-size clubs can spend $1 to $3 million just getting to opening night. Hakkasan in Las Vegas reportedly cost around $100 million. That's not because the owners loved spending. It's because in nightlife, the room itself is the product. Then licensing. A club without a liquor license isn't a club. And in many cities, getting one isn't a form. It's a political process. Zoning, background checks, police review, community board hearings where residents can object. In places where licenses are capped, you're not applying for one. You're buying access to one, hundreds of thousands of dollars before the doors ever open. By opening night, you can be several million in. And only now do we get to the part everyone imagines first, how the club actually makes money. Here's the trap nobody talks about before they sign the lease. Your costs are front-loaded, but your revenue is concentrated into a handful of nights. Friday, Saturday, maybe one strong weekday, a holiday weekend, New Year's Eve. Lose a few big nights and you lose a huge slice of the year with no way to make it back. Seasonality makes it worse. Tourist markets rise and fall with travel, college markets with the academic calendar, coastal markets with weather. And then there's the trap under the floor. Your crowd may not belong to you. Promoters don't just advertise. In many venues, they are outsourced demand generators. They bring the social circles, the birthday groups, the people who make the room feel alive. Sometimes they're paid flat fees, sometimes per head, sometimes a cut of table spend. The exact deal changes. The principle doesn't. A meaningful share of your crowd can be redirected next month by someone who doesn't work for you. You can own the room and still not own the pipeline feeding it. That's why some clubs look stable until they suddenly don't. Now, the part everyone thinks is the money, the bar. On paper, the margins are absurd. A cocktail that costs $2 to make sells for $20. A bottle of vodka that costs the venue $30 or $40 wholesale sells for $600, $800, over $1,000 at a table. Sounds like printing money. But the margin on paper is not the margin in reality. Bartenders overpour, staff give free drinks to friends, inventory gets mishandled, spilled, stolen. A busy room creates leakage by default. That's the quiet truth. A nightclub can appear to be printing money while bleeding profit behind the scenes. Here's the deeper point most outsiders miss. Occupancy is not the same as profitability. A packed room can be full of people who contributed almost nothing. Free entry for the attractive crowd, free tables for celebrities, comps handed out to make the room look hotter than it is. Those people are subsidized to create atmosphere. Some nights that works beautifully. Other nights it just lowers the real yield per guest. A full club can still lose money. Let that sink in. So if the drinks aren't the business, what is? This is where it gets interesting. The real engine is bottle service. And bottle service is not about alcohol. It's about hierarchy. The club slices its floor plan into layers of status and sells each layer at a different price. General admission buys access. The bar buys speed. VIP buys separation. Premium VIP buys visibility. The most expensive tables aren't the most comfortable. They're the ones everyone else can see most easily. A 10-person group can spend $3, $5, even $10,000 in one small section of the room. Not because they're consuming that much alcohol, but because they're buying the social theater around it. The sparklers, the bottle parade, the elevated platform, the attention of the room. You thought you were buying a liquor business. You're actually buying a machine that monetizes the human need to be seen standing near the center of it. And there's a quieter second layer on top. Sponsorship. Liquor brands pay for placement. Energy drink brands sponsor events. Fashion labels host after parties. Pouring agreements, branded activations, co-marketing funds. A normal Saturday is profitable. A sponsored holiday weekend is a completely different level of cash. Here's a real corpse to prove the point. Studio 54, New York, 1977. Within a year, it was one of the most famous nightclubs on earth. The line outside became part of the mythology. Celebrities, models, musicians, financiers, everyone wanted in. By the end of year one, it had reportedly generated millions in revenue. From the outside, untouchable. Beneath the glamour, the operation wasn't nearly as secure as the crowd believed. Federal investigators raided the club. Tax charges followed. Founders Steve Rubel and Ian Schrager pleaded guilty to tax evasion. The crowd was real. The demand was real. The line was real. The business underneath was not. Read that again. The most famous club in the world didn't fail because people stopped wanting to party. It failed because the business was never as strong as the line outside suggested. Popularity and durability are not the same thing. A club can be packed and still be one regulatory problem, one legal problem, or one relevance problem away from death. Why does this keep happening? Because the product itself is fragile in a way most businesses aren't. A nightclub's core product is not physical. It's relevance. The same room, same bar, same speakers, same license. Wildly different financial outcomes depending on whether the city currently believes the room matters. And demand is reflexive. People come because other people are coming. High spenders buy tables because the room looks desirable. The room looks desirable because enough high-energy people are already inside. If one piece weakens, the others weaken with it. That's why the decline feels sudden even when the warning's built for months. The line gets shorter. Then the club leans harder on guest lists. Then table minimums get softened quietly. Then promoters ask for better deals. Then high-value customers notice the club feels like it's trying too hard. The music still plays, the bar still pours, but the pricing power, the thing that let you charge $1,000 for a $40 bottle, starts eroding. And once that goes, the fixed costs don't. Rent, insurance, security, debt service, utilities, licensing, repairs. None of them care that you're less hot than you were 6 months ago. And there's the legal layer. A visibly intoxicated guest leaves your venue and causes serious harm. And in many jurisdictions, the club can end up in a lawsuit worth more than that person spent in a lifetime. Add underage risk, fake IDs, noise complaints, overcrowding. That's why nightlife insurance is brutal. A line outside tells you people want in. It tells you nothing about whether the economics underneath are healthy. Let's put hard numbers on it. Good year against bad year. Imagine a club doing $12 million a year in revenue. $4 million from tables, $4.5 from the bar, $1.5 from cover, the rest from events and brand deals. In a strong year, it clears an 18% operating margin. That's a healthy club, about 2.1 million in profit. Now the bad year. A competing venue opens nearby. VIP demand softens. Revenue falls 20% to 9.6 million, but costs don't fall 20%. Rent is fixed, insurance is fixed, most payroll is semi-fixed. Security and utilities shrink a little, nowhere near enough. That healthy 2 million can collapse to break even or worse almost overnight. That's the math. A modest drop in perceived relevance produces a disproportionately large drop in actual profit. This is not exaggeration. It's arithmetic. So here's the honest truth underneath the whole business. You picture the darkroom, the line, the music, the $20 drinks. And when it works, the margins look insane. The cash moves fast. The room feels invincible. But underneath it all, the model rests on one unstable assumption: that enough people will keep believing tonight matters most inside your doors. The moment that belief weakens, the music keeps playing, the lights keep flashing, the bottles stay cold, and the economics have already turned against you. A nightclub is not a bar. It's a temporary claim on relevance in a market where relevance decays fast and costs stay stubbornly real. The alcohol is not the business. The attention is. And attention is the most expensive asset in the world to keep.